good, YouTube? It's James coming at you once again with another video, and today I'm going to be talking to you about 3 different ways that you can determine the best method of splitting the equity in your startup. So let's jump right in. Option number 1 is to just straight up divide it up equally. If you have 2 founders, you each get 50-50. 3 founders, a third apiece. 4 founders, 25% each person. This is the easiest, simplest way of doing it. And this is the way that a lot of companies do it. It can work sometimes. I'm not going to tell you that it's the best way to do it because it's not the best way in every situation. And if you just go in blindly saying we're just going to split it equally, you ignore the fact that sometimes people may not contribute the same amount of work or value to the company as other people. And that leads us into option number 2. Option number 2 is trying to predict and make a predetermined decision about how much value and sweat equity and effort each person is going to contribute to the company, and then divide up the equity based upon that prediction. Now, if your prediction works out well, this is awesome because the person who quit their job and is working on this full time and putting in all the effort and doing all the work, making all the calls and really developing things, that person probably does deserve more equity than the person who's doing it part-time and they're contributing as they can a couple times a week. Now, where this becomes a problem is when you predict one thing, but something else happens. And the person who you thought was going to put in all this effort ends up not putting in as much as you thought they would. Or the person who you thought wasn't going to be able to do much, maybe they lose their day job and they just commit full time to working on the startup and no one saw that coming. With these predictions, it makes it difficult to determine upfront whether or not it's accurate based upon, whether or not people are going to be putting in this amount of effort or that amount of effort. And that brings us to option number 3, which is much more complicated and not as often used, but it does come up from time to time. Option number 3 is to do pretty much the same thing as option number 2 and divide up equity based upon how much effort each person is putting in and how much value they're bringing to the company, except it does it on a sliding scale. And the determination is made after the fact, after some predetermined set amount of time, as to how much value each person brought to the company. Let's say after maybe 1 year, you say, well, you did this much, you did that much, and you did that much, and your contribution made us grow by 50%, and your contribution made us grow by 20%, and your contribution helped us to grow by 10%. So we're going to divide up shares in those ratios. And sometimes it'll be spread out even longer than that, maybe over 2 or 3 or 4 years, and the amounts will go up and down and fluctuate based upon how much effort each person's putting in, because maybe during year 1, someone was really knocking it out of the park and putting in so much effort and so much work, but the company wasn't making money and they have a family to take care of, so they have to get a day job in order to support the family, and they can't work as much. If you make that determination at the end of year 1 and it stays that way, now you have someone who has a lot of equity but is putting in minimal effort to get it, which leaves the other people who were getting minimal equity, who maybe now are picking up the slack, but they're not getting any more of the company. And then you have to argue over whether or not it's fair that this person who's not doing much is getting this much equity and this person who's doing so much more is getting just a little bit. Also, there are tax issues that you have to worry about when you have the equity going up and down over 2 or 3 or 4 years, because of how the company is valued during that time. And as I gain shares and lose shares and gain shares, and how are we voting, what ratio are we using to vote, and so on and so forth. So it can be very complex, very complicated if you take that determination out past 1 year. And so what a lot of startups do is they'll either choose option number 2 and just predetermine what they think is going to be everyone's value that they put into the company, or they choose option number 1 and we're all equal. I would encourage you to think about option number 3. It is a lot more complex to manage and determine and put into the documentation up front, but it also often results in a much fairer determination of what is the appropriate amount of equity each person should be receiving based upon the effort and value of work that they're contributing to the development and growth of the company. I hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button and click the subscribe button, and make sure to tap the bell icon so that you can get notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to learn more about this stuff or talk to me directly for a consultation, please click the link in the description below, and it'll take you to my website, and you can learn more about me and my firm, Elevate Law. We help early stage startups. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.